Hello and welcome to Edexcel iGCSE ICT. This is paper 1, the written paper. This is from May 2023 and the total marks are out of 100. So this is the scenario that you get, and it's important that you do take the time to read that and understand that. So you've got Camille and 2 children. Camille uses ICT to organise her family life and her children use ICT for school. Why is this important? Because questions always refer back to this, and being able to talk about this context is really important to gain the marks you want. So particularly in certain questions, you'll need to refer back to the scenario that you're given here. Question 1. Camille creates a home network. A1. State what is meant by tethering. Tethering is connecting to the internet via a hotspot. So that's my answer for 1 mark. You don't really need to write much more than that because it's just 1 mark. A2. Which one of these is a reason for using a network? It definitely isn't A, because that wouldn't be a reason for using a network. It isn't B, because it cannot prevent latency. Latency is a delay, so this is nothing really to do with this. This isn't a reason for using a network. Our network may have latency, but it's not a reason for using it. C, to provide flexible access. Yes. D, to reduce hardware costs. I would argue potentially yes, because you could use a network for shared software, but that is assuming that the network is connected to the internet if using cloud-based software. So you cannot really make that assumption. The only really answer here that you could give is C. So the answer is C, to provide flexible access. B. Camille connects to a LAN, local area network. State 2 features of a LAN that are different from a WAN. WAN is wide area network. So my first point is a LAN connects on a smaller area, like a single campus for a college, for example. So LAN, local, the keyword is local there. 2, my second point is that it does not require a gateway. A gateway is a connection between 2 different networks, and we don't need that with a LAN. So a gateway would be a connection to the internet. So this hasn't said that, so it doesn't require a gateway. 2, describe the role of a wireless access point. Provides a connection to the network. A wireless access point provides a connection to a network wirelessly. You must say wirelessly. That's the whole point of it. 3. Which one of these is a hardware device that directs traffic between a LAN and a WAN? Is it a booster, gateway, hub, or server? It's a gateway. So remember from our previous question, our LAN might not have a gateway, but this is connecting us to the internet. It's a wide area network. It's not a hub, because that's something slightly different, used in a star network. It's not a server, because that would be used to serve files, or print server, for example, and it's not a booster either. That's something different. Question C. Give 2 benefits to Camille's employer of her working from home. So you must read this question carefully. This isn't about Camille. This aren't benefits for Camille. If you write benefits for Camille, you won't get the marks. It's benefits to Camille's employer. Camille's employer will save money as she does not need to have an office. If she's working from home, she doesn't need to have the office. So that's going to save money in terms of overheads. So the second benefit, her employer will make it more attractive to work there, so get more employees, as employees can work flexibly, which is an advantage. So it will definitely improve recruitment because employees will like that flexibility that this offers. D. Camille's mobile phone can receive data using 3, 4, 5G and GPS. So those have already been covered. State 2 other wireless communication methods used by mobile phones. We'll have Bluetooth. Bluetooth is used to communicate with external devices or other devices, other mobile phones, external devices such as headphones. We'll also have Wi-Fi. you can connect your phone to Wi-Fi, and that's all you need to write. It's just 2 marks, 1 mark each. You don't need to write any more than that or any kind of explanation for that. Save yourself time. You have an hour and a half in this. E, Camille uses wired and wireless connectivity. Draw one straight line from each connection method to the correct characteristic. Well, the first one, 3G, requires a SIM. It's not anything to do with longest range or only used in a LAN or least affected by interference. It is affected by interference. So to get a 3G connection, or 4 or 5G, you need to have a SIM card. GPS is none of these, so it is longest range. And then wired connection method. So that isn't necessarily only used in LAN. You could have a wired connection method to connect you to a wide area network. So the correct answer there is least affected by interference. And that's the whole benefit of a wired network. It is least affected by interference. That's the whole advantage of having a wired network. State what is meant by latency. Latency is the delay in network packets being sent. F, describe the function of a VPN. So we need a couple of points here for 2 marks. So VPN, virtual private network, provides like a tunneled connection to a private LAN from a remote location. It's primarily used to access geo-restricted content and provide a more secure access, particularly used on public LANs, public networks, such as in shopping malls. You'd use a VPN so that you have a more secure access to that, and you're not affected, or you're not at the mercy of packet sniffers who will be looking for the data that you send. G, Camille uses anti-malware to secure her data online. Describe 2 types of malware. What malware is? Malware means is a portmanteau of 2 words joined together. Malicious software. It's basically malicious software. So looking at things like spyware. So this is particularly nasty because it's spyware. There's malware that records her keystrokes. So particularly if she's signing into secure accounts to get passwords, and even controls or accesses her web camera. So the second point is Trojan horse software that pretends to be genuine software. So you download it, install it, but it's actually malicious software that's installing viruses or spyware. You could also have ransomware, adware as well. H, explain why Camille would use a filter in her network. So Camille's using a filter in her network to restrict access to certain websites, so that family. So again, referring back to she's a mother, she's got 2 children, so to stop her 2 children accessing inappropriate content. So my answer for 2 marks, so that the family cannot access inappropriate content that isn't suitable for younger audiences. It blocks URLs of that inappropriate content. The URL is a web address, Uniform Resource Locator. It's a web address of certain websites that Camille doesn't want younger audiences to be able to access. And that completes question 1 for a total of 23 marks. 2. Camille uses digital devices for work. A distance sensor is used as an input for an embedded system in a car. A1. Describe how a distance sensor is used by an embedded system in a car. An embedded system will be a computer that does usually just one job. For example, measuring distance between the car itself and the car in front. That's its only job. It's different to your computer in that it only has one job to do. So it can only do this one job, and it's programmed. The ROM chip in there is programmed, and it doesn't ever change. It only ever does this one job. Cars will contain lots of these embedded systems. So to answer the question, it will be sensing if a car is too close, so that will be the input. Is the car in front too close? and if so, providing some kind of output in the form of maybe some audio or visual output. So it'd be sensing how close the car is in front and then providing some audio visual output to warn the driver if it's too close. 2. Which one of these is another example of an input for a device? In this case it's C, because A, B and D are usually outputs. I know a monitor could potentially be an input as well, a touch screen, but we're not given that information here. So the only possible answer we can make is C. B. State the number of instructions that can be executed every second by a 3.2 MHz processor. The answer is 3.2 million. So if that said 3.2 gigahertz, it would be 3.2 billion instructions per second. So it's 3.2 million. C. GPS can be used to monitor people's movements. State one other way of monitoring people's movements. Closed circuit television, or CCTV, is one way of monitoring people's movements and will be used when crimes are committed to see who was where at what time. For example, CCTV is a good one there to answer that question. D. Camille's laptop uses secondary storage. That's the hard drive. Which one of these is a feature of a hard disk that allows data to be read? A is possible, as it could allow electrons to be stored. That's a solid state drive. Pools of electrons are trapped. B is reflective. Yes, the magnetic drive is reflective, but that's slightly different. That would be more appropriate as an answer for an optical drive, that reflective property. This is a hard disk, so the optical drive would need the reflective properties there. C is magnetically charged. Yes. D connects directly to the network. That's completely irrelevant. So it's a choice between A or C. Now, need to make a kind of judgment. Is it a solid state drive or is it magnetic drive? I'm going to go with C. It's magnetically charged. It's a bit of a kind of, not a trick question, but you need to be careful with something like that. We made an assumption there that it's probably a magnetic drive. 2. Here is a diagram that shows secondary storage. So this is a typical magnetic drive. So this can only happen with magnetic drives. We've got here sectors of the drive represented by the boxes, and they've been filled with files stored on it. C1, A1, A2 represent the files. And what we've got there is some kind of fragmentation, because they're all stored in different places. So files would have been stored and then deleted, and they would have stayed in the same sectors. So it's not making best use of the space. What defragmentation will come and do is store the files into all together, push the files together. So it needs to be in order. It doesn't have to be in alphabetical order, but if you're starting with A1, then you should have A2. Then we're going to have B's after that. So you could start with D2, but I go in descending order. I'm going in ascending order here. So I've done the A's, the B's, then I'm going to do the C's, and then the D's. So that's my answer there for 2 marks. 3, state one type of storage media that stores data as electrical charges. That's the one I was talking about before, the solid state drive. Question 4, which one of these is the largest amount of data? Now it's important that you understand what data is and how it goes. So you have a bit, then a byte, you have kibibyte, followed by mebibyte, followed by gibibyte, followed by tebibyte. So TIB should always be the largest, unless it's 0.0000001, then probably not. So it's fairly obvious here, it's 0.1. So 0.1 tebibytes is the answer to that question. 5, state 2 characteristics of hard drives that make it more suitable for use with servers. They're magnetic tape. Well, they're certainly more harder wearing than magnetic tape. Magnetic tape damages very, very easily. It's also an extreme fire hazard. But that's not going to be our answer here. They're also faster access speeds. So they are harder wearing and they provide faster access speeds than magnetic tape. 6. Which one of these is a reason for using local storage rather than online storage? A, B, C, or D? Certainly not D, because online storage isn't always compressed. For backup it might be compressed, but not always. Can't just assume that. Certainly not C. Online storage is usually backed up automatically. Local storage media cannot be encrypted. Not necessarily. You can do that in certain software. The answer is A. Local stored data is harder to intercept because there's no network to intercept the data in the first place necessarily. So the answer is A. E. Which one of these is processed by the CPU? Is it connectivity, embedded systems, hardware, or malware? It's only software out of this list that is appropriate there, and the software that we're given is malware. So software is processed by the CPU, not hardware or embedded systems or connectivity. F. Camille's laptop uses memory. Which one of these statements is true? A, B, C, or D? The answer is D. ROM is used to store startup files. So that is the BIOS, the basic input-output system that's used by the laptop. When it starts up, it accesses the BIOS, checks the hardware settings are okay, and then allows the computer to be started up. 2. Give one drawback of increasing the size of RAM, random access memory. The only key drawback there is it's going to cost more. There are lots and lots of positives for increasing RAM. The only real negative is it's going to cost money. And also certain computers have soldered RAM, so it's not possible to upgrade the RAM because the RAM is soldered in. You can't physically do it. But I wouldn't necessarily refer to that. The key issue there is cost. G. Which one of these is a function of an operating system? Is it A, B, C, or D? The correct answer is C, because the rest are completely irrelevant. That completes question 2 for a total of 17 marks. Question 3. Camille shares family photographs online with friends. Give 2 benefits to Camille's friends of Camille using an online community to share photographs. So her friends can comment on the photographs, and also her friends can be tagged in the photographs. B. Which one of these provides content to client computers? Is it ISP, LAN, router, or server? It is a server. None of the other options provide content to client computers. It's only a server that provides content to client computers. C. Describe how transactional data can be used with photographs stored online to improve the experience of users. Transactional data means cookies. So cookies can be used to store preferences about photographs viewed previously. This can then be used to give suggestions of content to the user. D. Explain one reason why Camille should use hosted software to edit her photographs rather than local software. Editing photographs is a hardware resource heavy activity. It puts quite a lot of load on the processor. So using hosted software will reduce that. Using hosted software will reduce this load and also make it easier to work with others and collaborate on the editing. E. Which one of these is a reason to use an avatar? Avatar is obviously a representation of a person rather than an actual image, and it will be C, to improve privacy. F. Camille connects to a wireless access point to upload her photographs. Explain one reason why moving closer to the wireless access point reduces transfer time. So being closer to the wireless access point means that the signal strength is stronger. That's not enough for 2 marks. We need to say what that actually means. So for 2 marks, this means that she'll be able to transfer files a lot more quickly. 2. Explain one effect that compressing the data would have on data transfer. Well, compressing the file means that the file is smaller. So this will mean that it transfers a lot more quickly than a larger uncompressed file. So compressing the file usually means that it's smaller. Usually it's done to make the file smaller, so it transfers a lot more quickly. G. Explain one reason why a website should provide accessibility features. So this accessibility feature would be things like alt text on images, or the ability to read out text readers, for example. These are all accessibility features. Accessibility features mean that the website can be used by more people, which is certainly a moral requirement. They should be doing that. They should be making their website more accessible. H. Camille buys extra online storage. Take two protocols that could be used to secure online payments. First one is HTTPS, so the S stands for secure. Another one we can have is secure socket layer, which also makes our payment secure. 2. State how encryption prevents data from being understood. The data is scrambled from plain text to ciphertext, and it can only be read by someone who's got the key. 3. After Camille enters the password correctly, she receives this text message from the bank. So it's a verification code, a 6-digit code. So explain why this message helps keep Camille's payment secure. So this is two-step verification that is very common now, very commonly used now. It will be used in banking. So this is two-step verification. This is an extra layer of security so that she can prove who she really is. So it's two-step verification, an extra layer to be able to verify her identity. That completes question 3 for a total of 19 marks. Question 4. Camille's child Sarah uses websites and video sharing sites for her schoolwork. State one way of reducing the environmental impact of servers that host online services. They could use recycled water for cooling, which is what they do in some server rooms. B. Sarah participates in an online meeting as part of a lesson. State 2 peripheral output devices that Sarah requires to participate in the online meeting. She's going to need a screen and she's going to need headphones. 2. Sarah uses wired connectivity. Her video is not synchronized with video from other participants. Which one of these causes would be the cause of the issue? Now that is a delay, which is latency, because the others wouldn't be the cause of the issue. C. Explain one drawback to learning of enabling the comments section of an online video content service. So this is something that is very kind of appropriate to me in my videos. I have comment section, and the comment section is enabled because I like your comments. And if you've watched the video to this far, please comment on the video. Please write a comment to say that I got to question 4. Thank you. I appreciate that. But what's the drawback of having the comments not so enabled, not disabled? So drawback are the people watching the video could be distracted by the comments. Yes, they can be very distracting. There's lots of benefits of comments. I'm never going to switch them off. I like having the comments. I like hearing what you have to say, and I do read a lot of them. But the comments could be inappropriate or contain spam. I've seen that on other videos. I haven't seen that on my videos, thankfully, but other videos I've watched on YouTube have contained spam messages, which is not really good. By the way, I will never post kind of adverts or anything like that in the comments section, so just be aware of that. I'll never put anything on there. If you ever see that, please report it. Thank you. D. Sarah is researching changes in global temperatures. Here is an image of her search engine. So she put today's temperature and concatenated with in the UK. So she's joined today's temperature and in the UK, but how could she improve it? Well, if she's looking for global, then putting it in the UK isn't really going to give her global results. So changing the phrase in the UK to global is definitely going to help her provide the results she wants. 2. Describe how one peripheral device can support users of the search engine who have accessibility needs. So a Braille keyboard will support users who have a visual impairment. You could have other things there, for example, text-to-speech, etc. E. Sarah's sister plays games with friends online. Describe one key feature of online gaming that develops social skills. Now, a lot of people play games online. There's lots of examples. Many of you might play games online as well. How can they develop social skills? Well, you have the chat, collaboration skills. So the chat feature can develop social skills by allowing the user to talk to others who are playing the game and therefore share a common interest. F. The 8 marker. Discuss the reliability of information from online sources. You can expect 2 8-mark questions in the paper 1, the ICT. 8 times 2 is 16, and 16 is a lot of marks out of 100. It's definitely at least 1 grade boundary, possibly even 2. So you need to get these. You need to hit all the points. You need to get these right. You need to do certain things. You need to discuss a range of points of view. You need to back that up with evidence. So point, evidence, explain, PEE, if you can. So link to the scenario, which is Camille. So you must link back to Camille. So remember, I talked about at the start of this video, linking back to the scenario. Always read that scenario. Always link it back, because you're going to lose marks if you don't. And really important, we must see a conclusion. So I would always think about a plan for this rather than just starting to write. But basically we've got to look at both good and bad of information from online sources. So you need to look at good and bad. There's lots of good points. So I started with the good points and can thoroughly research the topic. You can compare topics. I should have said in there, you can compare and contrast 2 sources, which is really a good thing to do. You can find a wide range of sources from all over the world, a range of opinions and facts on a topic. That's also a negative as well. Those opinions. So there's lots of really good points. So let's look at the negatives now. So the online source might not be accurate or up to date. It might be biased in some way, or it might be completely wrong, so you cannot trust it. So you should always cross-reference it. I'm going to write a conclusion. So always write a conclusion. You must write a conclusion to get anything beyond grade boundary 1. So get anything beyond 2 marks for this. In conclusion, the internet is an amazing resource to help with finding information. However, you should always cross-reference sources and verify them. So verify them by checking the source and date to ensure their accuracy. And that completes question 4 there for a total of 20 marks. Question 5. Camille designs controls for a games console. A. Controls are input devices. State 2 other peripheral input devices for a games console. So we could have camera and microphone, also joystick, anything that's an input device. B. Defragmentation is a type of utility software. State 2 other types of utility software. Antivirus and compression software that compresses our files down so that we can send them. C. State the device that forwards packets of data in a wide area network is, of course, a router. Networks is a big part of this course, so it's really important that you do revise that, because we've had not just this question, we've had other questions on networks in this paper as well. So D. Here is an IP, Internet Protocol address. State what the labeled parts of this address are used for. So what is part 1 used for? So part 1 is a network ID, which is used to designate a specific network. Part 2 is a device ID. So that is the IP address, and I've done a video before on what IP addresses are and how they're different to MAC addresses. Please have a look at that if you're in any doubt. E. Explain one way of staying safe online. You should certainly limit how much information you share, because oversharing can mean other people can steal your personal data more easily as it's more readily available. You should also block and report people of malicious intent. With my YouTube channel, if I get anyone writing anything unpleasant in the comments section or anything particularly bad, I just block the users. I just hide them from the channel. It's easily done. What you shouldn't do is kind of retaliate and respond to those people, because it only makes things worse. So just block and report them. It's the easiest way to deal with these kind of people. If this video is helpful, please share that in the comments. Always useful to hear from you. F. Camille works remotely as part of a team. Explain 2 negative impacts on the use of the internet has on the team's working practices. There are many positives to using the internet, but because people are not meeting in person anymore, it could lead to feelings of isolation and loneliness. A lot of companies that did remote work and wanting their employees to get back into the office because they want to see what they're doing, because they feel that they're not as productive. So remote working can lead to a sense of people not being as productive as they would be in the office. Whether that's true or not is another thing, but it might be what some people perceive, and they cannot be monitored as easily. G. Camille is writing an article for a website. Discuss how ICT makes it easier to plagiarize and the impact of plagiarism on others. Plagiarism is when you copy someone else's work. Now that is okay in some cases where that other person has been given credit for that work, but not where you've passed it off as your own. So you've copied someone else's work and literally changed the name on it. That's all you've done. That's not okay. So again, just like in question 4, another 8 marker, and these are important. You must write a conclusion is the best advice here. So you must look at kind of different aspects of the argument. So how ICT makes it easier to plagiarize, how ICT makes plagiarism easier to find, and you must look at the impact of plagiarism. So it must discuss the impact and then have a conclusion. So started off with just a definition of what plagiarism is, and I'm going to look at how ICT makes it easier for that to happen. So ICT makes it easier to plagiarize work as a user can simply look up the content they want via search engine, then copy and paste the content to their own document very easily. It's just copy and paste. That's all it is, really. So this impacts the victim because someone else gains credit for the work without having done any of the hard work that the victim did. So you need to look at the impact on Camille because her work might be copied by someone else and she may not be able to take credit for it. To look at the impact on society, the wider impact, and then bring this together with a conclusion. So the wider impact on society is that people may be put off by creating new content as they may be worried that someone will copy it. This will lead to less newer innovation and less ideas being shared. And in conclusion, plagiarism is easily done and has major negative consequences. Organizations should do what they can to stop it. Now, that completes that question for 8 marks, and that also completes the whole of the paper of question 5 and the whole of the paper for 100 marks. I'd like to say a big thank you for watching to the end. Please let me know if you watched it all the way through to question 5 in the comments. Let me know how your revision is going. If you've got exams this year, I'd be really grateful. And a big thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. It does encourage me to make more by liking and subscribing, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.